Hey there, it's 7:02 a.m. It is Tuesday morning. It is August, what is it? August 13th. Oh wow, look how much fast the month is just flying by. This entire year is flying by. 2024 is definitely one of those weird years, like where it seems like somebody is just like fast forwarding the time. I don't know what I'm going to name this video. I woke up this morning and I was thinking about um, you know, the issue of arguing over religion and how unfortunate this whole thing is, and um, how much I feel as though uh, someone like myself who stays out of like conversations relating to race, religion in the public, um, somehow finds themselves smack dab in the middle of like controversial stuff that I would never ask to be a part of. Um, I was thinking yesterday about the betrayals, and this is not like a rant video where I'm like screaming out people and pointing out their errors, even though they obviously made them, and then unfortunately I have suffered because of the stupid mistakes of other people. And I'm not even going to say that it was a mistake. I'm going to say that it was done intentionally. And it was somehow used as a way of exerting power where there really shouldn't have been that way. It shouldn't have been that way. So, I was thinking, how, how this issue, uh, showed a lot of the true nature of people that I used to know. And I was thinking about conversations that were circulating around me when I was younger relating to, religion. Okay, so I think everybody knows that, my family growing up in the Gordon household was very touch and go about religion. It was presented to us like, we did say with Jehovah's Witnesses, and then, we went to the Baptist church for a little bit as kids, and then we just ended it. Now, I took up an independent study with Jehovah's Witnesses when I was 13 years old, and I, kind of always had like watchtower stuff in my house, and this lasted all the way till I was I would say my early 20s, and then I decided I didn't want any more of it, right? I didn't want any more of it. And because I realized, I was truly an occultist in every way, shape, and form. And you can't dangle. And I honestly felt as though my time observing, the Jehovah's Witness religion, as well as the people, the representatives of that religion, I made my decision. I didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't want to be a part of it. And so, I slowly walked away. I had mentioned that, when I'm going to now refer to her as just Amanda, the girl that I met in school. She, when she passed away, I didn't go to her funeral, mainly because I understood that, there's a division that takes place when you make the decision to not really associate with Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay. When Jehovah's Witnesses are supposed to associate with people that are of the same faith. Okay. And I had already made a conscious decision to not be a part of Jehovah's Witnesses. And so you have to pull yourself away. Okay. Now, I was living in Bakersfield. Actually, that's not true. I think I was living in Palmdale at the time. Okay. So, yeah, when I finally decided I'm done with Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't want anything to do with them. Okay. I was living in Palmdale at the time. And I was still pretty young. I was like, in my 20s. And so, I started going to work and doing all this other stuff. And of course, I mentioned that I was being mobbed in my job and stuff like that. I was hardly seeing Amanda. I would rarely see her. And I would, kind of avoid any sort of confrontations with her. I know there were times that we were supposed to meet up. I would say, I think it was sometime in the late 90s. And I would find reasons why I couldn't go. And I would make excuses as to why, because I didn't want to go down that whole thing of the Jehovah's Witness thing. I was already comfortable with who I was, and I felt as though Amanda, just like everyone else, um, she was just another person that I felt as though I needed to start severing ties with, because as well as my family. But I never thought that I was going to completely sever ties with my family. Of course, I was an adult. I was living on my own, and I would see them. I only wanted to make a point to see them at that time, like on holidays and stuff like that. Okay, I was on my own, as I should be, as 18 years old, as an adult, and I mean, over the age of 18 years old, so I just wanted to go off on my own and live my own life, as I should, as my parents said that I could when I was, over the age of 18. So I wanted to start another life, just come over here, make a little living, and raise my son, and that would be the end of it, right? That's all I wanted, okay? And then, I think everybody knows that I've made over 1,400 plus videos, right, talking about all the drama that I've gone through, right? And so I was thinking about, the issue of Christianity and how, I've noticed the hypocrisy of, people who are supposed to be Jehovah's Witnesses and have a very distinct way of keeping themselves separate from the other forms of Christianity. Like, they are supposed to be, they're not supposed to be, associated or thought of as the same kind of group as Christians, right? Because the difference between the two is that, of course, Jehovah's Witnesses are very, what's the word for it? They take things very literal, okay? And this is one of the things at the time when I was younger, I respected about them, okay? But as I went, got into it a little bit more, I saw that a lot of the people that I knew were kind of hypocritical, okay? I did question, the whole Charles Taze Russell, his origins, what he believed, and what he was, his mindset when he was, formulating Jehovah's Witnesses and all this other stuff, okay? So it's just not, being a Jehovah's Witness just isn't my bag. But but they are different. They always want to be completely separate from regular Christianity. As a matter of fact, I had mentioned that when I was growing up and took an interest in Jehovah's Witnesses. My sister Tanya, who was dating her boyfriend at the time, who eventually became her husband, were what they would call born-again Christians. And I was constantly dealing with opposition from Jim and Tanya about my interest in Jehovah's Witnesses, okay? So there was always this sort of conflict. So it kind of surprised me to find out that my sister Tanya was aware of what was going on with the issue relating to my son's father's family, you know what I mean? But the reason why my sister was joining forces is because both of my sisters, I'm referring to my sister Tanya, who was supposed to be the born-again Christian, and my sister Lisa, who as far as I knew, never was affiliated with any sort of religion at all. Okay, but still, they jumped on the bandwagon because of their own personal hatred issues. Okay, so so I call that hypocrisy there. I was thinking this morning when I was younger, the whole conversation about Jesus would come up, and it's funny because I remember that topic being circulated a lot among people of color. I never really went to church or anything like that very often. Okay, I only went to the Baptist church as a kid. I would say maybe up to second grade, okay? I don't remember going anytime after that, but I do remember going to the beauty salons and stuff like that, because, my mom didn't want to do my hair, and at that time when I was a kid, I fully understand it, because that was a lot of work back then, okay? So we would go to the beauty shop, and sometimes when I would go to the barber shop with my dad, the conversations were, how a lot of people of color resented the fact that Jesus was portrayed as white, okay? And not just black people, but a lot of other people were complaining about it, but mostly black people, would talk about, the depiction of Jesus, with this blonde hair, blue eyes, and stuff. And I remember, I found the conversation interesting, but I never really debated it and thought, that I would take offense to it. To me, that was just, it was kind of how I was used to what they call whitewashing, Not like I was used to it where I was condoning it. It just didn't affect me one way or the other. Like I literally didn't really care about those issues. To me, it's like, well, if I guess it makes sense that people would portray people that historical figures um, based on how they look. You know what I mean? It just seemed like, well, this is what they were doing. But I didn't realize how deep that was. Like the conversation was so deep because uh, when I think about it, you know, a lot of black people know that they've been oppressed, they've been bullied, they've been mistreated. And when they think about just about every, okay, in my situation, okay, when I think about every single white person that I have ever known, okay, in my case, okay, because I've been a targeted individual and I was a part of a Nazi experiment, okay. So in my situation, I'm thinking, okay, all these people I used to know that were betraying me, that were doing things behind my back, that wanted to see me fail, okay, and I understand it was very racially motivated, right? People that I didn't really know were involved in my targeting. Okay, so you know, why would I, or why would I think that it would be, uh, why would a black person pray to a white God that looks just like the same person that has always done bad things to them? You know what I mean? This is how I think as an adult. It doesn't make sense for me to gravitate towards white Jesus. It just doesn't. You know what I mean? Now, that doesn't mean that I've always taken a peaceful approach to my political views as well as my religious views, okay? Mainly because, and the reason why I like Jehovah's Witnesses when I was younger is because Jehovah's Witnesses were supposed to be separate. You know, I respected the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses were supposed to stay out of political issues, okay? But deep down inside, like I said, like when it comes to my targeting, somehow or another, you know, people become hypocrites, okay? Um, Jehovah's Witnesses were supposed to be, you know, uh, all about equality and all this other stuff and all this other nonsense. But that's what you know. I respected Jehovah's Witnesses when I was younger. But as you get older, you start realizing, you know, there's a lot of hypocrisy, and a lot of people who claim to gravitate towards certain religions don't necessarily adhere to every single doctrine. Okay, I will say though that you know. White power or white nationalism or the idea of white supremacy has always appealed to every sector, especially like in the 19th century and before that. Okay, people are going to formulate, you know, everything and surround everything around European or what do you call it, European type. Um, uh, what is the word for that? Just like, you know, depicting everything with a European twist to it. Okay, you know, they're going to depict Jesus as white. Okay, and then there's always the issue of the question of superiority, who has God's favor, and it's always this endless argument, you know, of bringing religion into it. You know, I know that it seems as though I don't understand why is it that white people would want black people to be Christian. It doesn't seem to make sense. Why would they expect us? Why would they expect us to worship the God that they use as an excuse to abuse us? It doesn't make sense, right? But still, I stay out of that political issue because to me, the issue of Christianity is something that I let other people who call themselves Christian, black or white, squabble about. Okay, I felt as though I took myself out of the equation. See, I have all kinds of beliefs and thoughts and opinions about certain things, but I'm somebody who just kind of kicks back at home and figures I'm going to go ahead and let the world argue the sort of issues. Um, and that is one of the reasons why I did like Jehovah's Witnesses when I was younger, because they were supposed to stay that way. They're supposed to be neutral in these sort of issues, and I've always been neutral. Okay, but unfortunately, it didn't seem like there was a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses that seemed neutral in this situation, at least the ones that I knew. Okay, but anyway, you know, it doesn't make sense, you know, for me to believe that a white man or white Jesus is going to do anything for somebody of the black race based on the experiences that I've had with white people. And I think a lot of black people feel this way, right? So a lot of people are not comfortable with the idea of a white Jesus. I remember seeing depictions of black Jesus when I was a kid. And then there's actually Bible scriptures that people refer to. I think there's one, I want to say it was in Revelation, but I can't think of it. But it describes Jesus' skin color as golden or dark. And it describes his hair texture as woolly like a black person's hair. Now, I understand that people have depicted Jesus, and when I think about where Jesus was born and the people that were around him and the location and stuff, I understand most people are dark complected, okay? But still, whether Jesus was white or black, it's still a matter of, I don't believe that Christianity is a religion that resonates with me. You know what I mean? But I do think that when it comes to white nationalism, their Christianity is based on, obviously it's based on terrorism. And I do know that there were some people who were involved in this that kind of bordered along those lines. I know there were some people from school, and I'm not going to mention this person's name, okay? But I'm going to say I recall him having blonde hair, blue eyes, and I believe really drove into this whole issue of persecuting me. And this is one of these kids that grew up in the Antelope Valley with me, saw me going to school and stuff like that. But really, in the whole grand scheme of things, I don't recall really having any sort of interaction with these people. But they just knew that I was the daughter of James Calvin Gordon. And I know that in the 70s and 80s, my father, experienced the same things that I did. People wanting him to become Christians. When white people want you to become Christian, right? When it comes to white nationalism, they want you to become Christian, but that doesn't make any sense. Why would a black person accept that? Why would a black person, why should a black person accept their form of religion? Because a lot of white nationalists want to use this as an excuse or try to push the idea of black inferiority through religion. This is what they do, okay? And this is why they believe in their white power, and this is how they exert their white power, by using these sort of things as an excuse, by a lot of distorting, by using whitewashing tactics, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Whitewashing is something, like I said, whitewashing is so common that it literally just rolls off my back. I never made a big issue about it or debated it. Like when I used to see depictions of Cleopatra or Egyptians in general in movies, I would see them as white. And I remember my family would sit here and talk about it like, oh, they're not really white. I remember black people would talk about it. Oh, they're not this. And to me, the conversation would just go in one ear and out the other. I mean, I remember thinking about it, to me, it's like, okay, yeah, the Egyptians are black. But I never realized how white people would make such an effort to literally erase the history of black people. You know what I mean? But now that I'm older and I'm experiencing it, directly, through white nationalist hate campaigns, the one that I'm experiencing right now. Now I'm starting to understand, what racism really is, how deep it is. You know what I mean? And like I said, growing up, it's like, I really, truly gave everyone the benefit of the doubt. I really did. And I never wanted to paint everyone out to be evil. You know what I mean? So this is one of the reasons why, this to me is such a tragedy, because I've only been, a person who did everything they could to stay out of worldly issues. You know what I mean? And so they brought this whole issue of religion and all this other stuff. And the root of it is this has everything to do with white supremacy. Everything to do with it. Has nothing to do with, religion is used as an excuse, like I said, to exercise white supremacy. And this is what fueled it, really. And even when it comes to people who are like diehard white supremacists, throughout the years, I have such a peaceful view of everything. I honestly think that, go ahead and have your views. you know, I've never sat here and like interrupted people's belief system. Feel free to do that. But what I'm saying is, you don't have to like me, but you do have to follow the law. You know, and this goes to the people that, you know, were persecuting me. Okay, it is what it is. You know, there's certain religions or really racial groups that don't like each other. That's, you know, that's the way it is. You know what I mean? That is how it is. But this is the reason why we have the law. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I've mentioned before, like, you know, Christians generally in the past would talk crap about Catholics all the time. But see, you know, I know that the people who were persecuting me, who were Jehovah's Witnesses, did not mind using Catholic people, Mormon people, anyone that they possibly could to try to stomp me out. This is the reason why, you know, their claims of being separate from the world, you know, obviously they proved themselves wrong. Okay, what they were doing is they were, you know, showing their true colors and just doing this and attacking me for personal reasons and then using God as an excuse for their hate campaign. Um, so yeah, I mean, the whole issue of white Jesus, whitewashing in general, I'm not, you know, I'm not shocked by it. I have always had, like I said, I've always had my opinions on it, but I've always believed in myself, and I always believed that, you know, I was right in my views, and I just let it roll off my back. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I need to, you know, tackle every single argument or get into debates about it. I literally do not usually waste my time on such things, okay? But this issue hit home. Like, it hit home to where, like, you know, I'm sitting here doing everything to do I can to improve my life. Like, I made efforts to improve my life. I started recognizing in the 90s that there were certain people that I needed to cut out of my life from the 90s, right? And I, like, when my mom would call me and want to go do things, or and I knew the reason why she was trying to, like, associate with me or get close to me, because she wanted to bring me back to that religion, right? She wanted to bring me back to that religion. That makes sense, because I know that a friendship can't really exist between me and Amanda unless, of course, I'm somehow showing signs that I'm either going to become a Jehovah's Witness or I am a Jehovah's Witness. So this is one of the reasons why I said, you know, I need to put distance between her. And I already knew that my sister Lisa and I were two different people. Like, you know, I mentioned before, and the issues that the tension that was going on between me and my sister Lisa were small, but I thought I didn't realize how much hatred she had for me. Okay, I knew there were times she was grumpy and she would sit there and, like, you know, roll her eyes and say, "Well, don't you think you're special?" or, you know, whatever to me, right? But I didn't realize, like, she outright hated my guts. Okay, but the issues that made me put distance between me and my sister is because I understood, like, and they were small, at least to me, on the surface, okay? Like, the things that would irritate me about my sister. Like I had mentioned before, like, you know, I'm the kind of person that would get up early in the morning because I wanted to get, like, the first items at the garage sale. Because I was really into collecting, like, little pieces of, like, you know, Pyrex dishes and that kind of stuff. And if you want to get the good stuff at garage sales, you better get there early. So I would call her and I would ask her, "Okay, Lisa, I'm coming by at 6 o'clock, let's go," right? I'd come in and she was still in bed. Okay, so I understand. My sister's not a morning riser. Okay, and she's the kind of person, she would stay up really late, go to bed at like a 4 o'clock in the morning, and then, you know, do her little thing. And that was okay. Even though it used to irritate me, I realized, you know what? I'm an early riser. My sister doesn't really like doing things early in the morning. So you know what? I'm just going to start doing it by myself. I'm not going to invite her anywhere. I'm just going to go and do stuff on my own. And that way, I figured there was no tension because I'm not sitting here making her do anything that's outside of her schedule. And I'm just going to go ahead and satisfy my issues and do what I need to do early in the morning. That way, we're done, right? But it wasn't in any way like me holding resentment towards her or anything like that. It was just a regular, it was like a solution. It's a solution. It's a natural solution to this issue, this dilemma. If it irritates me that she's never ready, well, and I see the importance of coming to get the first stuff, then do it on my own. And it's not just the thrift shopping thing. It was a lot of other things that I realized that me and my sister were completely different. You know what I mean? Like, my sister was one of those people, she liked to hoard things. She was like what do you call it? Oh, yeah, a hoarder, right? To me, less is more. You know what I mean? And so we had different views, and that's fine. And I really didn't think that she was like so outright plotting against me and hated me so much. You know what I mean? She hated me because, I would buy, clothes for myself. I remember when I was living over at, what is it? Yeah, when I was living in Palmdale. I was living in Palmdale in 2007, and, she always knew I liked clothes. She always knew that. She always knew that, and oh yeah, I know. She always didn't like the fact that, I was very girly, and but my mom never said that I couldn't be, right? I just always gravitated towards the things I like, but I know that my sister Lisa struggled with her weight. Here we go again. She struggled with her weight, and I know deep down inside she really wanted to be a better version of herself, okay? But unfortunately, my sister was always she only knew toxicity, okay? So she just was a toxic person. That's just the way it was. You know what I mean? And it's sad, but I was somebody who recognized the importance of cutting people off. I was the kind of person, started in the 90s, okay, and I also understood the importance of loving people from a distance. At that time, okay, I knew there was me and my sister were different. We formulated into two different people with different lifestyles, opinions, views, whatever. But at that time, I just chose to love her from a distance. Okay, and then all of this nightmare, the workplace mobbings and all this other stuff starts to come out. You know what I mean? I feel angry because, she or people went against my wishes, thinking that it was okay to try to force me into some sort of marriage with my son's father. Because and I don't know if it was why would they do something like that? You know what I mean? Why couldn't she just respect my view? You know what I mean? I was over the age of 18, but see, the reason why she couldn't respect it because she had an agenda. And it's always convenient to hide your agenda through religion. This is what a lot of people did. They secretly want things, or they want to be competitive, right? So the first thing that they use is religion. Religion was used to kill my father. Religion was used to ostracize me. You know what I mean? And when it comes to somebody who strives to be moral, somebody who tries to be upright, I would say, and I don't like saying this like I'm bragging, but I would say that I do. I feel as though I live a life where I am in alignment, in a spiritual alignment, okay? And I'm not somebody who causes harm to anyone else. I try to be as self-sufficient as I possibly can. And so when you look at the situation, you can understand that true spirituality is something that is very resented. Okay? People are more likely to gravitate towards group religion than they are spirituality. And the reason why they gravitate towards group religion, like things like big mega churches and stuff like this, is because they get these networks and association. So this becomes their little God group, right? And this is how they manifest their miracles, and they create these little blessings for themselves, and then they create these curses for anybody who's not in the group. Okay, so it's not like it's divine or anything. It literally is like this guy standing behind a curtain doing his odds magic, manipulating things behind the scenes. And this is how a lot of religions work. You know what I mean? I had, throughout the years, the reason why I identified that I was a target individual is because I've read about things like the Nazis, their tactics, and it's always the same stuff. We were talking about, a few days ago, I did a video, and I had talked about the demiurge. Okay, the demiurge, the energy, the idiocy of these lower level type demons, right? They do things that are, the reason why people describe them as silly or idiotic is because, at least from my observation, okay, is that they do things that are obvious. Okay, if the demiurge or the Nazis or white supremacists have been using the same obvious tactics year after year after year after year, you would think that they would come up with some other sort of plan, right? But it's the same thing, and it's obvious. And I noticed when I was, interacting with certain people, the behavior was very obvious, like the nervousness, the giving themselves away. They give themselves away by they try to be covert, but they kind of give themselves away in a sloppy way. Like it's kind of like somebody's hiding from you, but you can see them their body sticking out of like a telephone booth or something. You can see them. You understand what I'm saying? It's like it's weird. It's creepy too. It's very creepy. But yeah, I mean, I recognize this issue as something that was very wicked and sinister, and that I wasn't comfortable with it. My family. I remember my brother used to talk a lot about how he didn't like Bruce. He didn't like my son's father, but somehow I find it funny that he collaborated with Bruce in order to try to do things against me. See, this is what I'm saying is that the real motive of these people was just out of envy. That was what it was about. And people who didn't agree with my lifestyle. You know what I mean? And when I think about it, what is there to disagree about my lifestyle? You know what I mean? It's because of my personal right to have my own choices. After the age of 18, I have the right to do what I want legally, as long as I'm within the guidelines of the law. Okay, now that doesn't mean that I can do just anything. I cannot walk down the street naked. Not that I'd want to, but I can't do that because there's laws on the books about indecency. Okay, indecency, exposing myself. Okay, that would be wrong. Okay, there's certain violations that I cannot do, but I'm operating within the guidelines of the law. So everything else. Okay, there's certain things that are supposed to be done in society, and then everything else is just a fucking option. That's an option. You know what I mean? What religion I choose is an option. Do I choose a religion or none? That's an option. Why do I say that? Because everything in the law shows that, as well as things like the Declaration of Independence talks about the religious freedoms, right? So you get people who always use religion as an excuse. Religion is always used as an excuse as to harm other people. You know what I mean? And when you question this, like, what is your motive, really, for doing it? And they'll say, okay, well, it's because it's our religion. Even if it's something written in the Bible, even if it says, like, for example, I don't know. Let me try to think of something that might be in the Bible. Okay, like for example, some people commit adultery. A good example, yeah. Okay, a divorce. Look how many Christians are divorced. Okay, now according to Scripture, the scriptural reason for getting divorced, and the only reason to get a divorce, according to the Bible, right, is if somebody creates who steps out of the line and commits adultery. So, like, let's example. I'm married to my husband, and my husband commits adultery, right? I have the right to decide whether I want to forgive that person or I want to leave them. Okay, that's within the Bible. Okay, there is no other reason. But there's so many Christian people, right, who've gotten divorced because maybe they don't like the fact that their husband eats crackers in the bed, or maybe there's just differences or whatever, right? But there's a lot of Christians who are married like more than one time. They're on their second marriage. Some people are on their third marriage, right? Right? Okay. Now, legally, they can do that. They're not going to be thrown in jail because they committed adultery. There's no law that in this country that says that you can. You know what I mean? That you're going to be thrown in jail for that. But when it comes to like their religious communities and stuff like that, if they commit adultery, they might face social situations like, being ostracized, being gossiped about, okay? But legally, can they do anything? No. They can't do anything about that. You know what I mean? So there's always this problem with people who have a hard time understanding what is, their religion. How far can they take their religion? You You cannot sit here and impose your religious views on other people. You know what I mean? You might like it, and I think this is why they were so like convinced that what they were doing, it was okay. You know, this is about God, or they're using that excuse that it's about God, right? So they feel as though that gives us even more power to do what we want to do, and convince themselves that they're doing it for a righteous reason when they're really doing it to create some sort of abuse, right? So like they may not like the fact that I'm, a psychic, right? They may talk about, there's things in the Bible that talk about people being prophets. There's things about people in the Bible who consulted and used forms of divination. There are, okay, but there's things in the Bible that talk about people who use divination that was not right. All right, so to me it's like, well, there's different forms of divination. To me, I'm going to sit here and use just based on my conscience, pray, and I will go ahead and take my chances. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? And that goes for people who practice magic as well. I know they looked at Moses as somewhat as a magician. But anyway, but still, something could be written in the Bible about marriage or any sort of issue, any sort of subject, right? And if a person goes out of those guidelines, certain people are not going to adhere to anything that's written in the Bible. And you know what? That's their choice. They don't have to adhere to biblical standards. They really don't. Legally, they don't have to. But you'll get religious groups that will sit here and do things to try to force their agenda using the Bible as an excuse. Well, not everybody worships the Bible or acknowledges the Bible, or should even be forced to acknowledge the Bible. You know what I mean? This becomes a problem. You know what I mean? We do have, to me, this is one of the reasons why my parents raised me with the law. At least my father did. Okay, when it came to life lessons or any sort of instructions, I would say that my father was the one who gave me most of that guidance. Okay, so when they talked about set rules for the house, the rules were basically in line with what was going on or what was already established based on the law. Like our behavior was based on the law. Can you get arrested for this? No, you can't. Well, then I guess you can do it. You know what I mean? And that's how we were raised. You know what I mean? And to me, I call that being raised on a secular level. Like, instead of saying, oh, well, you can't do this because God doesn't like it. It was more like, well, we're doing it because we're being good citizens. You know what I mean? We're being respectful to other people. We're just doing this. We're sticking with what the guidelines of the law are. Okay? When it came to religion, like I said, my parents were not really pushing the religious thing. We can do what we want by the time we're 17 years old. 17 years old to me is a good age, I think, that my parents set for our religious freedoms within the household. I mean, like, even though I was not a formal Jehovah's Witness, I was still allowed to have, the pamphlets and the books and stuff like that before I was 17 years old. But as far as making like a dedication and saying, oh, I'm going to get baptized, I'm going to get into this lifestyle of being a Jehovah's Witness, that was something my parents were like, you need to be old enough to make that decision. And then even at 17, though, when I think about it, okay, I still haven't really experienced life yet. You know what I mean? So that was one of the reasons why at the time when I was 17, even though I could have become a Jehovah's Witness, I still just kind of opted to just go to the meetings and read the material. I didn't want to become committed to something like that because to me, that was like really, it's like you've got to really know what all that entails, you know what I mean? And I remember looking at different Jehovah's Witness families, their lifestyle, and wondering, man, do I really see myself in this? Do I see myself going door to door all the time? Do I see myself, building my life around what the Watchtower and Tract Society says? You know what I mean? And then also, dealing with people who, and I know this happens to just about in every religious community, okay? When somebody gets nitpicky or jealous of you, they always want to sit here and try to use religion as an excuse to try to bully you, right? And I understood that sort of dynamic was pretty much in my sister's church. I already saw it coming out of things like, even Amanda sometimes didn't like certain things that I did. And she would sit here and talk about, well, Jehovah doesn't like it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry, but I don't know if I really want this or not. And so I finally, in my 20s, I decided I don't really want this. This isn't for me. Okay. I felt as though I could still be a moral person without religion. I didn't need religion to uh, to to have morals. I didn't need religion to have empathy. I didn't need religion to improve my life. Okay, what I needed was I needed to observe the things that were causing me problems, and I needed to be able to put a distance between that or eliminate it if possible. It's that simple. Okay, and see, I think one of the reasons why I was resented, because obviously people can tell that I live a good life. I'm a good example of a person who lives a good life, a good wholesome life, okay? And that bothers them. Why? Because they look at me and I set an example. And they cannot say, because I live a good life because I'm a Jehovah's Witness. And see, that bothers them. You know what I mean? I am somebody who lives a good life and is an example of somebody who does not need religion to have a good life. Now, that's not me trying to convert other people to my views, because like I said, I came here in this community and I was literally just trying to settle down, have my little place, live here and raise my son and whatever, do my little shopping on Sunday or Saturday and bebop home and in my own business and whatever. But this was like something that came upon me. So going back to the issue of this racial issue, of racial hatred, people losing their minds and stuff like that. I do believe that the world that life here on Earth is hell. I do believe that. Okay, and I do believe that it's not always easy for people to get along. Mainly because there's so very little resources, right? And people want to stab people in the back to get there, and this is what it's really about. People wanting to exert their power and use excuses or try to create some sort of idea of supremacy. I have never believed that I was inferior because of my race. Now, I will tell you, when I was growing up, I did feel uncomfortable because I had kids who were always bullying me. Okay, I'll also say that if you grew up in the United States and you were a minority or a white person, okay, white people have always been glorified in society, and I think a lot of people from different races will agree that they looked at white people as like the normal people. This is the way it is. I mean, this is because they pounded this sort of ideology through to you through TV shows, through cartoons, through magazines, any sort of thing that they could. They always depicted white people as in being in superior positions. Now, when it comes to the world, the actual world, I would say, white people do have more political power. They do have more, resources than people of other races. Did I ever believe for 1 minute that made me inferior? I would say I did understand that it put me in a situation where I was at a disadvantage, because here I was, a very smart kid, and there was nothing that I could have ever done that could have proved that to people. People wanted to see me as a certain way. They had the power to destroy my life. They have the power to sit here and bully me. And see, the people that I used to know from school knew this. And this is what gives them the power. It is not something that, I don't believe that these kids were smarter than me. I don't believe that they were more intelligent than me. I don't believe any of that. Now, I'm not talking about the white race in general. I'm talking about people who specifically went against me that I used to know from growing up. Now, obviously, I don't think that white people have never created anything. I do understand that, but I do understand that white people paint history, they eliminate history, they've also whitewashed history, they've also done everything that they could to squash out any sort of accomplishment or recognition of people of other races because they were interested in promoting their own race. Okay, this is one of the reasons why we deal with things like propaganda. This is one of the reasons why people always debate about, the history lessons taught in school, or there's not much talk about, the accomplishments of Black history. And I've never been one of those Black people that sat here and tried to force the issue of people teaching Black history in school, because I know white people want it so bad to blame me and say that I was playing the race card. See, this is the reason why this whole issue has eggs on people's faces, okay? Because white people came up against me, all on their own, demanding and bullying me, to acknowledge their white supremacy through religion. That, to me, was fake. And they were doing everything they could to tear me down as a person. And, of course, they would, using religion as an excuse, which is one of the oldest tricks in the book. Okay, and because all of this boomerang and backfired on them, and I'm sitting here like, hey, I didn't do shit. And I'm glad that I can say this, because one of the reasons why I've never been, vocal about my personal opinions or political views in the past is because, number one, I don't believe it does any good. Okay, but I believe that, I live a very peaceful life, and instead of me arguing about my views or trying to get people on my side of my views, I'm just going to live my views. Okay? Meaning I'm just going to live my truth. I'm going to live my philosophy. Things that I observe, like if I observe something that's not good, I'm not going to do that. Okay? If I see that there's something toxic, I'm going to relieve myself from it. Okay? I decide what I believe or not. And if it doesn't jive with my reality or things that I believe that are based in reality, then I'm going to reject it. It's that simple. You know what I mean? I've never been somebody who tried to, be like run for president or have some sort of, clout. You know what I mean? Clout. I understood that when it came to, status and stuff like that. I call it flashy status, okay? Like power couples and, people that are, what they call like, I don't know, people who are up there, okay? I never saw myself as one of those people. I basically just wanted to get a job and live a very simple life. I did want my, my share of being able to get work produced. Of course I wanted to do that. I'm somebody who's a very creative person. I'm an imaginative person. I constantly think of different ideas, okay? But that doesn't necessarily mean that my whatever. People are always fighting for a certain spot in a certain position within the public eye or whatever. And to people like Terry Collins, she just did not want me to have any sort of, any sort of recognition. Okay, that was where it really boiled down to. She didn't want me to have any sort of recognition, and she felt jealous of that. And so this is one of the reasons why these people come up with this bullshit, like, bringing people into my career options that don't belong into it. Like, the idea that people would think that I was Bruce's wife. Because that makes absolutely no sense. But you see, here's the thing, what doesn't make sense to me about that is, obviously I made an effort to not have any contact with people. I literally went no contact, okay? And then we have people who came into my life and used this issue of me not being married, which is a religious issue. Okay, it's a religious issue. Why? Because maybe based on their religion, they don't really see a lot of women my age unmarried, okay, or whatever. Or maybe it's because I had a child out of wedlock with Bruce, okay, and they use this as some sort of excuse, saying, well, I'm going to go ahead and take over her career because I had a child. Well, no, what should have happened is that Bruce should have paid child support. Okay? What I should have done, this is how it should have been handled, okay? It should have been handled through the court system.
from the very get-go. Okay, I should have went when I was younger if I wanted to get child support. But you know what? I didn't want him paying child support. Okay, at first I kept thinking he should because that's his kid. You know, it takes two to tango, right? It takes two to tango, right? So, you know, he should be paying some child support. But he flat out told me he was not going to pay child support. He flat out told me his dad was there, his sister was there, his mother was there. He wasn't paying anything. Okay? So, okay, fine. I figured I'm a good, smart girl. I can go out and take care of my own kid. This is the story. I'm telling you. Everybody knows it. My mom knows it. Well, she's dead now. But everybody knew it. Maria was going to go out on her own. Okay? So I went and got a job over at Edwards Air Force Base, and I started working there. And I stayed there for like 4 years. Okay? And throughout that time, I thought, okay, well, and I started reading a lot of professional magazines on how can I get into the workforce. So I already had my foot in the door. Now, whether they arrange things behind the scenes or not, or I don't know what happened, you know what I mean? But I know that I asked for the job, I applied for the job, and I worked myself into that job. Okay? So I kept thinking, okay, how do I get around this? How can I get experience? How can I do this? So it was like they were recommending stay on the job for like 2 years, right? Stay on the job for at least 2 years, okay? And I was proud of myself because I stayed on that job for like 4 years, okay? I stayed on that job for like 4 years. And that was amazing for me because I will tell you, I was starting to show signs of stability, even though it was very small. Because throughout the years, I had noticed that I had a hard time keeping jobs, okay? And I knew I always had some sort of bullying that went on in the workplace. And yeah, there was bullying that went on in the workplace over at Edwards Air Force Base, okay? The people would say snide remarks, being, you know, sarcastic and whatever. You know, and of course it didn't start off that way. It always starts off with the love bombing, and then all of a sudden it comes out, it ends up with this whole disrespect thing, right? But still, that was my work history. So I decided, okay, and of course, I was living in the Antelope Valley at that time. So I decided, okay, I want a job in the Antelope Valley. And, you know, thing is, I didn't really fit in the Antelope Valley, but you know what I did love about the Antelope Valley? It has a really good vibration. There's certain parts of the town that I'm really connected to. So I figured I would look into finding a job in the Antelope Valley. I could not find a job in the Antelope Valley. Could not find one, right? No matter how hard I tried, I could not find one. So I decided, I think I did work in LA for a little bit, okay? But then I came down here. And I wanted to work. You know what I mean? Because I came down here because I could not find a job in the Antelope Valley. Okay? That's crazy, right? I was probably blacklisted in the Antelope Valley because of my father. So I came out here because the cost of living was cheap. That's why. Okay? And then I found out that, you know, throughout all these years, all of this stuff has been being manipulated, blah, 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 blah. And it blows my mind, really does. It blows my mind. Okay? But meanwhile, you know, I would get, like, you know, help with, you know, child care. I had help with child care, okay? And then my goal was to make it so that I didn't have to have any sort of assistance. So I worked myself. I would like work jobs, and I was trying really hard and struggling. But still, I was working on my own. I never wanted to ask anybody for anything. You know what I mean? I realized that Bruce wasn't somebody who wanted to pay child support. So I decided to do my own. Now, if see, this is why I find this offensive, okay, is that he wasn't willing to pay child support, right? But he wants to sit here and dictate what I do for work. That dude's an asshole, is what he is. He's an asshole. And then try to, you know, block my opportunities while I was sitting here trying to raise his kid. What an asshole. Asshole. Okay, and why is it that everybody jumped on and defended Bruce when I was the one who obviously was the one who dealt with or got the short end of the stick, right? Because it was about white supremacy. That's what it was about. You know what I mean? So when I think about this issue, I can only look at the Collins family as evil. I can't, there's no other way that I can describe it. I can't come up with any other answer. because I didn't ask her to come in and do anything, and I knew that she and I'm referring to Terry Collins, okay? She and I didn't see eye to eye on certain things. She was very opinionated about certain things, okay? And she showed me that she was racist on several things. So instead of me marrying into that family, which would have been a mistake, I just left. So anyway, I'm angry because, like, the nerve of somebody doing that. The nerve of somebody thinking that they have the right to come into my life, you know, and bully me. Also, while I was here in 2007, I was working for the news station. I was getting ready to leave. I know that my Bruce Collins, he married Sarah, a girl named Sarah. He married Sarah in 2007, okay? And I remember getting my son, taking him down to the tuxedo shop to get him a tuxedo for his dad's wedding. Now, I don't ever recall crying or trying to threaten. I've never met that girl. I've never met her. Don't know anything about her, okay? So, well, how is it that Bruce Collins could be my kingdom spouse, right? And him be married to somebody else? How does that make sense? Make that make sense. It doesn't make sense, okay? So, you know, I've dealt with a lot of injustices, and that were basically based on religion, but obviously for what do you call it? Racial issues. You know, it was the underlying issue was always racism. You know what I mean? And you know, someone like myself, you know, I do struggle because, you know, because of the fact that my father was a victim of this. And the sad part is that the root of the problem of why it all happened, it goes back to this issue of the cloning thing. The cloning thing. We were clones, and we were encouraged. When I think about this weird thing, we were encouraged to clone each other. Okay, like, you know, apparently I, you know, must have encouraged Louise to have James Calvin Gordon, right? As when I was CB Briganza, and then my father turned around and had me clone, and I was always encouraged by this religious stuff. Okay, and I think it's crazy. It is crazy. You know, it seems as though we were complying with something that they created, and then we ended up suffering for something that, you know, we got caught up in, and it wasn't even our fault. And then we had to deal with white supremacist or white nationalist bullshit of people trying to wipe us out after they're the ones who did it in the first place. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, we had a hard time. We had a very hard time, okay? And we were innocent the entire time. And so we had to deal with hate crimes. We had to deal with people hating us. We had to deal with people ostracizing us. We had to deal with people bullying us. We had to deal with people turning against us, or people who basically just wanted to use us and milk up resources, basically, just like what Terry Collins did. So, you know, I just wanted to share my thoughts this morning, you know, and now that I've kind of veered off into the subject, I was going to talk about, you know, make this topic about white Jesus, but I decided to just go ahead and leave it and maybe name it something else. Who knows what I'm going to name it, but I find it, you know, just, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that I had to deal with this. It's unfortunate that this happened to me. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate that, you know, people did things that, people did things for power. Like, for example, you know, I was talking about the King George V and Queen Victoria. You know, they made some bad choices when in the past, right? They made some bad choices, and their choices were based on they wanted what? They wanted power. They wanted control. They wanted obsessive control, you know, over people that they thought were their rivals or looked at as their rivals. Okay, so that right there was negative, and they formed and joined forces with technology from a source that was negative, and then they went on this massive bandwagon of, the cloning thing, right? The cloning thing. So that was negative, and so then we were created based on that. We were created through the cloning process, or brought back from the cloning process, right? And we were victims. We're victims. That's it. We're victims, nothing less, nothing more, nothing less. But it's unfortunate because, of the abuse that we've suffered and had to endure. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I think I'm going to be finishing. Oh, wait, you know what? Let me go ahead. I wrote these down earlier, so maybe I'll share these with you. I am very proud of me and my father's Egyptian lineage. There's nothing that anyone can take that away from me. I think what's unfortunate is that my lineage would have been hidden from me had I not figured this out. And it is important to me. Okay, like when I talk about things that I view as important, I'm not trying to push this on other people, but people have to make special decisions for themselves in life. Okay, and I do see that coming to understand who I am, like the root, the nature of my problems, or where I originated, or whatever, is essential for my spiritual growth, my overall well-being. Okay, because now I see the situation in a different light. You know what I mean? It's no longer a mystery as to why people treated me the way that they did. It's no longer that. It is what it is. Okay, I am a victim of white supremacy. Period. And I needed to know that. And I also needed to understand, why is it that I do the things that I do? Why is it that I'm drawn to certain things that I am? I'm drawn to, my interest in mysticism because it runs through my veins. You know what I mean? When I think back on my life as Maria Gordon, the very first thing I wanted to do when I was younger, I wanted to understand all the interesting things about the nature of God, mysticism, all of that. That was my issue. That was my intrigue. And nobody told me those things. It was just something that was already inside of me. You know what I mean? A part of that comes from the reincarnation process, but the reincarnation process has a foundation. And the foundation was, I was an Egyptian person. 100%. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, we played a big role, me and King Tut, in the past life when it came to things relating to religion. So, spirituality. I call it spirituality because I don't believe, I can't see myself enforcing something. Encouraging maybe that if I was like the queen of Egypt at one time, I can imagine living our lives and just having a peaceful flow. I can't imagine forcing people to be a part of something that they don't want to be a part of. So anyway, I personally believe that because of the demiurge type vibe within the demonstration of the demiurge type vibe that I see from a lot of Christian people, a lot of Christian people are miserable. They are outright miserable, and I've seen a lot of them with mental illness. Like my sister Tanya had a lot of mental illness. Okay, I remember I would look at people in the Kingdom Hall and that I would see and observe, and I could tell that they were just consumed with mental illness. Okay, and the reason why they have mental illness is because they are constantly forbidden to think for themselves. They are forbidden to make certain decisions for themselves. They're controlled. They're controlled. Okay, and it's not about rebellion. It's about what do you call it? It's more like somebody, same thing. Like you'll use religion as an excuse to keep people in line. You know what I mean? In line that's not necessarily good, but it's always done for a particular agenda. Okay? And I believe that the demiurge spreads this sort of darkness and brings darkness. And this is the reason why I see so much, mental illness and Christians and acting out like crimes, violent crimes, or covert crimes, or they bully other people, or they use God as an excuse to get by, to get things. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of Christians that I've known, okay, including Jehovah's Witnesses, and mind you, I'm somebody who was raised in an experiment, so you know the kind of people that were in my environment. I've only known toxic, corrupt people, okay, and they're obviously toxic and corrupt. Okay, this is the reason why this is a covert program. So, like if it was light, it would be shining bright. It would be like obvious. I would know my network, plain and simple. Right? But I don't know my network. Like, what I mean by know my network is like, you know, Terry Collins and her gang and all the other people who were a part of this, including my blood relations. We never had any formal conversations up front. Okay? Everything was done behind the scenes. Why? Because it's deceitful, right? It's deceitful. Okay? So we know that the only thing that can be deceitful is not pure God, right? It's something of the demiurge. What else do I want to say? I understand that, you know, people have hated my father for a very long time. And it's funny because, you know, I'm looking back on my life, and I was thinking this seriously. You know, with all the persecution that I've had to deal with, of all the pain that I've had to deal with, I still would not change the fact that that man was my father. I love my father. You know what I mean? I love my father very much. And, you know, the very fact that somebody actually made my father hurt, I can't even, you know, because that's what love is. That's what love is. Like, I love my father unconditionally. You know what I mean? And there were times in the past where, you know, I didn't understand what was going on between me and my father. I really didn't. I honestly thought that my dad was just, you know, being hard at times or whatever, because, you know, my dad never liked people. He always talked bad about people. You know what I mean? Because my father was experiencing things that I didn't understand at the time. Now I understand. I understand why my dad wanted to go and maybe find a property off somewhere and live way out in the woods somewhere. Okay, and he would say that, and people would say that he was crazy. I remember when my father passed away, I was talking to my Aunt Doris, and she was saying, I never understood your dad. Your dad was strange, and he always talked about going off in the woods somewhere. I can't imagine somebody who would want to live like that. Okay, and so this is, I'm not trying to bash her in any way or shape or form, but people don't understand what it's really like being a targeted individual. And yes, my father was a targeted individual because he was a part of this cloning process. Okay, and because they know that he was a king, a deity, a god in his past life, right? He's now on the scenes, and people are bullying him. He's becoming somebody that is kind of quasi well known. Okay. Not as blown up as they have now, or they have the internet where people are talking about. But like I said, you know, that was a skit about the King Tut thing. Okay, King Tut had its popularity back in the 70s, and this is like right around the time when, you know, I was entering into the school system and all this other stuff. So there was a lot of mockery and whatever going on. Okay, and obviously he didn't deserve it, but this is what he went through. You know. And my father was a good man, you know what I mean? But it was that demiurge, you know, energy, that competitiveness, that need for white nationalists to rise against my father and create problems for us, you know what I mean? One by one, you know what I mean? And they wore him down, all because he was an intelligent person and people felt threatened. White people feel threatened when somebody is intelligent. So that's one of the reasons why they made it up and said that I was actually artistic when they knew that that wasn't true. So I've been dealing with white nationalists for a very long time. And throughout that time, okay, my heart has been nothing but pure. I have always said, oh, everybody deserves a chance. I don't want to paint everybody out to be bad. This was nationwide and then some. This hate campaign went nationwide and then some. Okay, so I have to think about that. Okay, so I was aware of certain things. My awareness was turned to certain things that to me was like really disturbing. Because, you know, I look at white people, I mean, I'm going to be honest, okay? I don't hate white people, but I have to look at them differently now. I do look at them differently now, okay? Not like I'm going to hate them or anything like that, but, you know, I'm a little uneasy about white people. Because I know that my father never hurt anybody. We never hurt anybody, okay? But I know that people did everything they could to stomp me out, Okay, I know that Bruce Collins and his plan of manipulating my employment, knowing good and well that he was married to somebody else, knowing good and well I was on my own, knowing good and well he wasn't paying any child support, but they let this white man step in and take over my career. Okay, all I'd known was white hatred from like the get go. So it's very hard for me to sit here and think, okay, well, I'm going to be relaxed around white people. I'm a little concerned about that. You know, trying to go back into the workforce knowing that I have to deal with white people. Okay, I'm not being confrontational, but I do understand, they sort of treated my father bad, and he didn't do anything. And I didn't do anything either. You know what I mean? And they were willing to, treat my ex-boyfriend like he was some fucking goddamn king when he's never done anything. You know what I mean? So it does concern me a little bit. But anyway, what else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, I know that going back on the issue on dealing with online stuff, being online. I know that I had mentioned my frustration about me being boxed in and being like, blotted out, and people being angry because people are angry with me, or were angry with me because they didn't want me to, I guess, have my own social group or be able to associate with other people, or they wanted to block me out and make it so that I was such a bad person. You know what I mean? When I see other people talking about their interest in the occult. As a matter of fact, yesterday I stumbled upon a video that I was watching late in the evening. Okay, I forgot the name of this person, but they call themselves an alchemist. Okay, and they refer, well, the name alchemist is in their title. Okay, and that's obviously an occult thing, right? And they are associated with Patreon. They have their own Patreon channel. Okay, so why is it that they can have a Patreon channel? And I've known a bunch of other people who are readers, and they are on their Patreon channel. Why is it that I couldn't have a Patreon channel? How come? Why? Okay, is it because Terry Collins was angry and because I dress nice and because she's angry about it, she's going to sit there and act like it has something to do with her religion? Let me tell you something. When you go to the Kingdom Hall on Sunday, people dress their best at the Kingdom Hall. Okay, so it's not like it's unusual for a woman to groom herself. Okay, but we do have a very jealous bitch who is basically trying to squash me out for her own personal reasons. Right? I'm just saying. Okay. They wanted to make it out like I'm not able to sit here and teach somebody because I am not somebody who has gone through I don't have a 4-year degree. Well, here's the thing. I mentioned a few days ago. Well, a few days ago? No, it's actually 2 weeks ago. I did a video on people who are successful with either a little or no education, right? And I talked about, now I am not creating a church, okay? But people, to use that as an excuse, okay, is to me is just like kind of a slap in the face, especially when you look at people like I mentioned Joel Osteen, right? He's the head of a church in Texas, right? He's not one of those educated people, but people listen to him, right? People take advice from him. People are guided by him. People are listening to him. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not even sitting here trying to guide people really so much. I am trying to like bring awareness and bring comfort to people. But as far as me like teaching occult lessons that are fun to incorporate into your life, I don't see what the big deal is. And I was thinking, when it comes to people who are supposed to be experts in the occult, I was thinking about Gerald Gardner. All right, he comes to mind when I think about it. He was the one who wrote Witchcraft Today, and he was the one who started the Wicca religion in England, right? And he wrote Witchcraft Today, I think about a year or two after witchcraft became legal in the UK, right? Now, he was really into the ceremonial magicians, and a lot of ceremonial magicians, okay, including Aleister Crowley, okay, got most of their inspiration, get this, from indigenous people. Did you hear what I said? From indigenous people. A lot of indigenous people didn't even have the ability to read or write. They're using things like symbols and whatever. Okay? So, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. Okay? I was an occult authority. I am the occult authority. Okay, so once again, we have people who want to stay in and get in my way and prevent me from being able to make a living or do the things that I want to do, whether that be for a living, monetizing my channel, or somebody who just wants to talk about a cult and then have people, communicate with me. It's always some bullshit with these people. So why is it that other people can have their Patreon channels, but I'm not allowed to have one? Right? Oh, is it white supremacy? I kind of think so. Right? What else did I want to talk about? As far as I know, right now, this issue of the kingdom spouse has been cleared up from what I get. Okay. But I'm still getting a little tense because this whole thing has caused me nothing but problems. Do I have another message? Looking through my stuff. That's it. Really. Sorry this video was so sloppy, you know what I mean? I'm just doing a lot of mental dumping because, this when you deal with the betrayals that come from so many different directions, okay, and you witness intense hatred coming off of people, because that's what it is, it's hatred, okay, it bothers me, you know what I mean? There's a lot of psychics on YouTube that are intuitive readers as well as card readers, okay, but they're on YouTube. And guess what? You cannot sit here and try to act like they're not occultists in some way. They may not be full on occultists like me, right? To where everything in my life revolves around the occult, but still they're practicing a form of the occult. Okay? But yet they're on YouTube. So why can't I? Right? I get the message, this message just popped into my head about being royalty. Yeah, my lineage is royalty. I am of royal blood, okay? But that's not something where I feel as though that goes to my head, okay? It's like I'm grateful. It was the missing piece of the puzzle, okay? I'm a royal person, okay? And I've had to deal with white hatred all my life. My father was a royal man, okay? Meaning he had superior traits, intelligent, okay? And we had to deal with white hatred, attacks from white people. Okay. So that was another message. Am I getting any other messages? Kind of taking my time this morning for something else. Something about the psychics on YouTube. Psychics on YouTube. What does that have anything to do with? Yeah. So anyway, the occult is not going anywhere. It's always been practiced in some form or another. Okay, a few years ago, aromatherapy was a big deal, and that's basically people burning some of those little wax cubes that you see at the store. You can burn up potpourri things, or you can plug in scents in your house. It's not only keeping your house smelling well, okay, but it's also changing your environment. It's changing your mood. So it's altering your mood. Just like when you walk in the door and your wife is cooking maybe some apple pie or something, right? Your mood changes. You might start feeling nostalgic or whatever. It's setting the mood, right? It's getting the family all excited and stuff like that. It's setting the mood. Aromatherapy is what? A form of the occult. That's exactly what it is. Color therapy is a form of the occult. People have even argued in the past because psychology, the study of psychology, has its roots in the occult. Yeah, it does. I was actually going to do a video a few weeks ago about the what do you call it? I think it's called a caduceus, how you pronounce it. The symbol for the medical symbol with the little snake and the going up with the little wings and stuff like that. You see it on ambulances and you see it on in the hospital and stuff like that. That symbol is the occult. Everything in our world revolves around the occult. Okay, it does. Okay, and I'm just somebody who recognizes that. Let me see. Is there something else I wanted to say really quick? I think that's it. I think that's all for my messages. I might be making videos today. I'm trying to take up my time. No, I have not done anything on my job search. This is Bakersfield, so it's not like there's any fashion companies that are here in this community. So I'm just trying to be very I'm not really like, I don't really care what kind of job I have. I mean, I do and I don't. Okay, I do want to work in an environment that I feel is, you know, hassle free. Meaning, like, I want to, you know, hopefully my manager will be somebody who's got their shit together, right? And hopefully it's an environment where, you know, I can just do my job, and you know, I just don't want to deal with drama. That's what I'm saying. Don't want to deal with drama. But anyway, and that's it. So, but I haven't really started my work search. I mean, I did last week. I did work. I mean, I did search for a job. What was it? 2 weeks ago. Oh my gosh, I was supposed to do it last week. Okay, so that was 2 weeks ago. Supposed to do it last week, but I started dealing with anxiety issues, and then I kind of put it off. And so I'm trying right now to deal with it. You know, I do want to make sure that I look for a job by Thursday. Okay. Like I said, you know, when it comes to choosing industries and stuff, like, I'm not really familiar with my community. I'm really not. I don't have a social work, a life, so where I'm really familiar with people. I've always been controlled in as far as my environment, so I don't go out and meet other people. And if I do, they usually infiltrate those relationships. So it's not like I know anyone. But, you know, there's certain industries I would prefer not to work in. Obviously, I don't like things like the medical industry. I don't like working for gas and oil. That's always been the case, okay? But, you know, and I don't want to work for aviation companies, and I do not want to wear a uniform. Okay, I don't want to deal with that. I get really tired of, and like I said, it's not about, the issue is not about, okay, you know, let me just say something about the uniform issue, right? Okay. Some people might, I know that their family was basically trying to dim my light, okay, because my light is something that was envied by Terry. It was envied by possibly Jennifer, because I don't know what Jennifer looks like. I know Jennifer, when we were growing up, she was always very thin, okay? And I know my sister Lisa is very jealous of me, and my sister Tanya was jealous. Everybody was jealous, okay? People had their reasons for it, right? But going to work, to me, in my clothes, okay? This is one of the coping things that I can handle, okay? That's one thing that gives me the ability to deal with my job, okay? So, yeah, I want to wear my own clothes. I don't want to wear a uniform. I think wearing a uniform is something that, for some people, it works out well because, like I said, not everybody is into clothes. Not everybody's into it. Not everybody, you know, and just because a woman's not into clothes does not mean that she's bad or anything, or a person who is into clothes isn't bad. It's just their own personal preference. And see, I'm the kind of person who, I fully recognize that life sucks. I fully recognize that it's hell. I fully recognize that the majority of life is mundane, so I choose to, you know, go show up at work in something that I like. That's just how it is. And I always feel as though everything that I wear is tasteful. Now, I know that when I was younger, I was pretty outrageous with clothes. I mean, I was pretty outrageous with clothes, okay? I've always been very experimental, okay? But as an adult, I would say that I pretty much, when it comes to work attire, I wear what they call classic clothes. Clothes that I can keep in my closet for years and years and years and years, and they can still be worn. Like things like turtlenecks and plaid skirts for the fall and stuff like that. Those always, they don't go out of style, okay? And they can be worn across the age groups, okay? Like people in their 20s wear turtlenecks, people in their 30s wear turtlenecks, people in their 50s, people who basically have one foot in the grave can wear turtlenecks, okay? Slacks, stuff like that. Yeah, I have that kind of stuff. And you know what? When it comes to work, I love that kind of stuff. I love my coordinating colors. I do. I love like, okay, today's this particular day. What am I going to do? I like setting the tone for my day. Okay. So the uniform thing was just like, I knew that it was a continuation of an argument, and it was a form of harassment, and that's how I looked at it. It was harassment. Okay. Now, I think I'm getting a message. Sorry, something's coming through my head. And it's these little messages that I get that constantly interrupt me. Yeah, okay, a lot of people are talking about me in the community. That's why I'm picking up on a lot of stuff. So let me go ahead and turn this off, right? Turn this off, and then I'm going to go ahead and edit this video. Then I'm going to go ahead and get all the messages that are circulating, because people are talking really a lot about me right now. And so I will come back with another video sometime later and kind of share what's going on, because I don't get feedback on my channel because of the, what do you call it, the cabal and their whatever issues, okay? So I have to figure out, like, what is the hot topic, what's going on in my situation. I have to figure all that out myself. And usually I get my downloads. And then there are times where, you know, lately, because I boxed my playing cards and my tarot cards, you know, for a long, long time, and just didn't recently pull it. I didn't pull them out till just recently. Okay, it's been a long time since I started working with those. So, and then I did some instructional videos on it. I hope you guys took a look at divination before spell work. Okay, you can use divination for all kinds of reasons, not just for spell work, but it's kind of good to see what's going on in your life, because, you know, today, in today's world, when you got a lot of people playing games and covert games, you know, it's kind of nice to be able it's kind of nice to be able to get some insight on what's not being said, okay? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do some meditation. I will